Good morning, my name is JPD Oliveira. I'm the Wandering Clinician. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please click on the subscribe button and make sure that you ring that bell so that you can get alerts every time I place a new video on the channel. Also, I would appreciate if you could share the channel with anyone that might need it. I want to help as many people as I can. I'm in Portugal. I'm in the north of Portugal on the coast. I'm in a town called Aveiro, which is not far from Nazaré. If you've ever watched surfing competitions, there is an international surfing competition that takes place in Portugal, in Nazaré, and that's not very far from where I am located at. So, last week I was in England, now I'm in Portugal. I've been traveling a little bit, and I've been meeting people, and I've had a lot of conversation around negative thinking. And so today I will discuss with you negative thinking, fearful, anxious, stressful thinking, and ways to get around that. So, sometimes you might have thoughts in your head, and those thoughts might feel like the reality, but the truth is, a lot of your thoughts are actually just your perception of the world. So you could be walking into a room and going, "It's really hot in here," or "I'm really cold. It feels really cold," but actually the room temperature might be just right, and it is more your perception. So my first advice is not to believe everything you think. If you're having a thought go through your head, you should question it, especially when we think of something, we might not question the validity of it. And so what happens is you might look at the mirror and say, "Oh, I look really ugly today." And that's just a thought. It is not a reality. It might just be the perception that you have of yourself. So rule number one, do not believe everything you think. When you're having a thought go through your head, whether it's a distracting thought, whether it's an anxious or fearful or stressful idea, you can stop yourself and say, "I'm not ready to have that thought now. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel angry." So you can push a pin in it and re-examine that thought at a later date. Sometimes the thought will come into your mind when you're doing something, like maybe you're doing homework or you're working or you're having conversation, and then a thought comes into your mind. And you can say, "Oh, I'm having that thought right now. That's interesting." Push it aside and then re-examine it later. You don't have to give it full attention at that moment. Or you could just acknowledge it. "Oh, I'm feeling this way right now. I wonder what that's about." You could look at it as if you're looking at the sky and there are a bunch of clouds, and look at the clouds go by and you notice them, but you don't fully immerse yourself in your thoughts. The technique to let go of the thoughts in a moment is called mental noting. So you note the thought, you observe the thought. "Oh, I'm having that thought. Interesting." You make a note in your mind, and then you let it go. You don't hold on to it. You don't give it too much energy. For example, if you observe yourself feeling sad about something, you can ask yourself, "Why am I feeling sad right now? That's interesting. I wonder what that's about," rather than just feeling the emotion and letting it run you and dominate you. So I don't know about you, but I know that many people have what's called recurring thoughts, or thoughts that come back, their pattern that tend to happen. So for example, uh, when I was a child, we would do sports team, they would pick, the kids would pick their friend, and then sometimes I'd end up being the last one to be chosen. And the thought that I had in my head was, "Nobody likes me." And that thought was a very strong thought, and it was very painful. And I was like, "Nobody likes me, nobody likes me, nobody likes me." But in a sense, that wasn't true, because my mom, my dad, my brothers and sister, and family members, and other people in my life loved me. However, I was telling myself that narrative because in the moment I was feeling like I wasn't liked by the other kids. And so the idea is to come up with a counter narrative, so that when you have a narrative come into your mind, you don't let it dominate. Don't use the word always or never. So for example, say, "Nobody likes me, I never have any friends," or "I'm always alone," because when you repeat those statements, it becomes some kind of a reality. And what you want is to step away from any perception and deal in facts. So yes, I wasn't chosen first. I was chosen last, or I was chosen next to last. But next time, maybe I'll be chosen first, and overcome that thought. Also, not to give too much weight to other people's action, and realize that people are like you. They are fallible. They make mistakes, and sometimes they don't realize they're hurting your feelings. You might say to me, "Well, JP, I have a thought that comes into my mind, and at the time, it feels so real, and I'm not capable of fighting it. So you have to question it. You have to ask yourself, is this thought a true thought? Is it the truth? How am I coming up with this, this belief, this idea? Uh, is it a fact or is it something that I feel? Feeling is different from knowing. You might feel one way, but the truth might be another way. So you want to question it as much as you can. So when you're questioning your thought, you could ask yourself, what makes that thought true? What's the validity of it? How do I know it's really true? And you have to come up with facts to back up the thought that you're having. 9 times out of 10, you'll realize the thought is just a thought and not a fact, and that you're just having an impression or a feeling or a perception, but it is not based or anchored in truth. The next step is really to look at the thought and ask yourself, if I believe that thought, how am I going to react to it? What is going to do for me? What's going on in my head, in my heart, in my body? Is believing that thought helping me? Is it hurting me? And then finally, you could ask yourself, what would it be like if you did not have that thought at all? How would your life be? And you question that as well. You say, I'm having the thought that nobody likes me. Is the truth believing that nobody likes me helping me, or is it hurting me? So, taking the same example I've given you where I felt like no one liked me, one thing I could do is tell myself, I like me. I like me. And then I could think about how I like other people and say, I like my mom, I like my dad, I like my brother, I like my sister. And then finally, find the validation in other people that I know like me, like my mother likes me, my dad likes me, my sister likes me. You want to come up with truth that you know to be true versus thoughts. And also, you might not feel like you like yourself, but how can you expect other people to like you if you don't like yourself? Believe it or not, I would say 99.9% of your thoughts that you have on a given day are the same thoughts that you had the day before and the day before and the day before. There are very few new thoughts every day. So if you have a pattern of thinking that is very negative and that makes you feel really low, it is important for you to think about changing that pattern of thinking because it will affect you on an ongoing basis. And you really don't want to live your life as someone who goes day to day thinking negative thoughts. So, for example, I'm ugly, or nobody likes me, or I'm incompetent, or I will never get a good job. That's a tape that you're playing for yourself, and your brain with neuroplasticity will believe it. So, if you want to change things around, you need to start having a better message for yourself. That's why I recommend doing daily affirmations. When you find a thought that's very negative, find an affirmation that can counter it. So, if I say nobody likes me, I could say, I'm very popular among my friends. Or you could say, my mom or a specific person loves me. Or you could say, I'm a very lovable person. I am very lovable. I'm very capable. I'm very kind. And you repeat those thoughts every day to counter the other thought, which is nobody likes me. I hope this video will help you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email is on this channel. You can always send me an email if you have a particular question that you would like me to answer. I am open to answering that question with a video. I will respect your anonymity and, of course, subscribe and share. I look forward to speaking with you soon, very soon.